Yesterday was the Robert Francis review, and today is the first chance I've had to really give an initial response to it. You know, I've read the report twice, and these are my initial conclusions. I will be writing a full written response in time. Basically, Robert Francis was given all of this evidence, Breaking the Silence parts 1, 2 and 3, which included evidence from 1,500 whistleblowers, and my book, Beyond the Facade, which was published in 2008 and which tells the story of the first PIDA case in detail, line by line, where the law fails whistleblowers. This book names and shames every manager that was involved in the bullying and every abuser, and the reason that Bupa have never lifted a finger to sue us is because it's true, and we can prove it's true, and it's a fact, and basically it's a damning indictment of PIDA. Robert Francis was given all of this, plus all of the comments and signatures from the petition change.org. People signed that petition, where whistleblowers will often not put their names to things because obviously it's a big ask to ask people to sign such a petition, but people cared enough to sign it. Robert Francis was given all of that as well as this, and he has not only failed to include it in his report, because obviously I can only presume because it contradicts his conclusions, but he has actually not even acknowledged that this evidence exists. And that, you know, he has included evidence from Virgin Atlantic, not Virgin Atlantic whistleblowers, but the company, but he hasn't included evidence from whistleblowers. We are making a formal complaint about this because he has actually chosen to call his review the Speak Up review, and he himself has ignored 3,000 whistleblowers. He has totally ignored them completely. That is, you know, my first shock. I didn't expect much from Robert Francis, I've got to admit. But I kind of kept an open mind, because 15 years we've been fighting for justice for whistleblowers, and what happened to us in our own case. I think the biggest thing that hits me is the fact that for years to come, every time a whistleblower is betrayed and failed by PIDA, they should be writing to relevant government departments. And relevant government departments will be writing back to them, telling them they had a review and about what Robert Francis said and how marvellous it is, and that they should go away and not complain anymore because they're not going to do anything for another 15 years. That's the biggest injustice of Robert Francis' review, because it was an opportunity that may not come again to do something about the real problem. What we've got is a complete waste of the rainforest resources in paper. Whistleblowing guardians. We've had dignity guardians, and we've had elderly champions, and we've got now another take on this ineffective spin kind of initiative. Whistleblowing guardians. I can tell you straight away that one of the worst abusers that I saw abusing vulnerable people was the most qualified in the place where I worked to be the whistleblowing guardian. So instead of being a place for people to go to, it's actually very easily could turn into a barrier to a whistleblower having anywhere to go. And it could be thrown back in their face that they didn't go to the whistleblowing guardian who they wanted to complain about. It's a joke beyond all measure. It's an absolute and complete joke. The fact is, 19,000 staff were surveyed online. That's not an investigation. That's what people do when they want to find out what people think of a washing powder brand. That's not an investigation or an inquiry. It's a sorry excuse. He spoke to 600 people, but he ignored the evidence from 3,000. That is not an inquiry. That is a complete and utter whitewash. It's beyond a whitewash, because There are many whistleblowers who we deal with daily, and we know how vulnerable these people are. And they put some trust in Sir Robert Francis, and he has completely and utterly betrayed that trust. He's come up with something. He might as well have just photocopied the phone directory, Robert Francis, for all the use it has, for all the bearing it has on the reality of working in a place where you've raised a concern and you are the subject of bullying and harassment until you are forced to walk away because you can't take it anymore, because your mental health breaks down, because you're absolutely crushed by trying to find the courage to go into work each day. And each day that you go in, it becomes harder because the fear of what's to come tomorrow is even worse than what you suffered that day. A whistleblowing guardian. Well, Sir Robert Francis, I am not really one for foul language, but all I can tell you is you can take this and you can stuff it where the sun don't shine, because you are an absolute and complete joke. And we want a full public inquiry for all those whistleblowers who've been failed by PIDA. We want a complete, full, open public inquiry, and we want it chaired by a judge that is acceptable to the victims of silence, to the victims of PIDA, and to this whole charade. You cannot have people in the NHS or any other sector who have been guilty of harassing and causing harm to whistleblowers continuing to work while the whistleblowers are in the position they are. If you let these people continue to work who have done what they've done to whistleblowers, you are actually feeding the culture. Des Kelly, he's named in my book, he went on to become a CQC advisor, a government advisor on elderly care. This is what happens when you bury the truth about whistleblowing. This is what will happen as a result of your recommendations. They are not worth a squat, and I am angry, but I shall take your report apart line by line with reality, and you will look even more of a fool than you do already. And that's what I think of your report.